Tennessee football will scrimmage for the second time in fall camp on a Thursday morning. What we want to hear from Josh Heupel after the scrimmage, that and more. It's your Thursday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Vols, your place for Tennessee Volunteers coverage. 5 days a week, 30 minutes, sometimes a little bit more, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Big shout out to Gametime for making us a part of the show, for being a part of the show today. Download the Gametime app, create an account, put in the promo code Locked On College. You're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Appreciate you guys making this your first listen, your first watch here today and every day. Got a busy show coming up. I'm going to give you my wish list, what I want to hear accomplished from Tennessee Scrimmage, the second scrimmage of fall camp that's set to take place Thursday morning. Josh Heupel will meet with the media shortly afterwards, and of course, whenever we speak with some people who are in attendance, here are some things that we hope to hear. At least my 4 or 5 things that I hope to hear on the progress of Tennessee. We'll get into that here in segment 1. Phillips Fulmer, former Tennessee head coach, of course, former Tennessee Athletics Director. He joined Josh and Swain, 99.1 The Sports Animal, and had a couple of things to say about Nico and some other things. We'll hear from Coach Fulmer in segment 2. And then an important update to the renovation process over at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Some very, very key important updates on the timeline for that completion of the project. We'll get into that in segment number 3. As always, you can watch us, listen to us, subscribe to us, download these episodes wherever you listen to your podcast for free. And, of course, by subscribing to Locked On Vols, the YouTube channel. Tell your friends all about the show. Football season is right around the corner. We are almost there, everybody. We are almost there. All right, so second scrimmage of fall camp. It's taking place Thursday morning. By the time you listen to this, maybe it's already happening right now. Maybe it's already done with, or maybe it's coming up, depending on what time you listen to it. But about 9 o'clock, somewhere around 9 o'clock, Tennessee football will scrimmage for the second time in fall camp, and Josh Heupel will meet with the media around 11:30 and kind of tell us how it went. Quick refresher offensively, it had a lot of guys out in scrimmage number 1. Defense won the day. You had Deshaun Bishop, who did some good things and was called out by Josh Heupel to the media, in terms of praise. We saw where Nico Iamaleava threw a touchdown pass to Ethan Davis over the middle. He actually threw another touchdown pass to Ethan Davis. That one was called back. A couple of different guys did some things, but overall it was the defense that won the day. But really, there were so many guys who were out in scrimmage number 1 that, in my opinion, you couldn't really get a good look and couldn't get a fair look at what the offense looked like. So that's kind of where I want to start this conversation. Outside of no injuries. You want to avoid big-time injuries in fall scrimmages. So that number 1 is on the wish list, as it always is. But number 2, I want to see some guys get back into the fold. And, Tennessee's going to be so cautious with so many of their different players. Look around the SEC right now. You're seeing running backs go down, at this place. And, Dylan Sampson hadn't done an awful lot here the last couple of days. He's been more of an observer at practice than a guy that's been taking part in stuff. He did not scrimmage last week. He will not scrimmage this morning. I can tell you that right now. They were being overly cautious with Dylan Sampson, as they should be. Number 1, he's your RB1. Number 2, he's the only guy that's got experience in your backfield, big time experience. Number 3, Cam Selden, your backup running back, is still not clear for contact yet. So you're going to be entering the season with Dylan Sampson and Deshaun Bishop as your two-man horse, right? So they're going to take every precaution they can with Dylan Sampson. So I don't expect Dylan Sampson to play. I don't much expect Brew McCoy to play. I think the first time Brew McCoy gets hit should be in the UTC game, and he shouldn't get a whole lot of licks in that game, in my opinion. He can go. He's full go. He's frustrated. He wants to be out there, but Tennessee's very much playing the snap counts with him and trying to be careful and cautious with him as he's working himself back from injury. We'll see if Keenan Peely goes. Again, Keenan Peely's healthy. He's practicing. But again, kind of like Dylan Sampson, you want to wrap him in bubble wrap and preserve him for, the first game of the season, because he is, a guy that's got a lot of tread on the tires. And you didn't have him a lot last year outside of the first game of the season. And really you saw, in my opinion, that linebacker position struggle. And sure, he was hurt and missed the year. Aaron Beasley was hurt throughout the year and kind of tried to gut through it. And, really, I don't think was ever his true self. Arian Carter went down with injury, but that linebacker group was, because of one key injury, in my opinion, I don't think that it was a very good unit last year. So I'll be surprised to see if Keaton Peely plays at all. I don't expect him to get a whole lot of work. Ricky Gibson has a tender hamstring right now. Do not expect him to suit up and go in the scrimmage. So there are some guys who won't play, and there are some guys who will be held out. But what about Lance Hurd, who was easing himself back into fall camp? The coaching staff was, at least, after an offseason cleanup procedure in the summer. He'll be ready to go. He's full go for the season. But, kind of where is he today in the scrimmage? I'm intrigued to see. I think it'd be good for him to get out there and get a couple series and get some cohesiveness with his offensive lineman, allow him to protect the blind side of Nico Iamaleava to get a clear picture down the field to try to go and make some plays. I think that'd be a good thing. What about John Campbell? John Campbell, another guy that's got a ton of tread on those tires. This is his 7th year in college. Sure, he's flipping sides and playing the right tackle, and he played a little bit of right tackle at Miami. If memory serves me correct, he played left tackle, started all those games there in 2022, came over here to Tennessee in 2023, played left tackle, of course. But I think that the seasons before in 2020 and 2021, he played a little bit of everything, including right tackle. So it's not brand new to him, but you'd still like to see him get in there and get in the fold of things and, get a couple of series. But, we'll see if he's a go, today in this scrimmage. He had been doing a little bit more in practice the last couple of days that we the media have been out there. I think this is a huge scrimmage for Andre Carrick. Andre Carrick's got to practice or he's not going to win the starting left guard job. So it's not these guys' fault that they're banged up and being held out and all that. But at the end of the day, if you want, if to win a job, you've got to be out there competing. And I think this scrimmage is very, very important for a guy like Andre Carrick. Dante Thornton, I would expect to get some run in this scrimmage, as would I expect Mike Matthews. Both of those guys have been coming back in the fold and been practicing the last couple of weeks, as well as Arian Carter, who was held out in scrimmage number 1. So I want to see who's out there. I think that this scrimmage is important to get some guys back in there. And just because you scrimmage doesn't mean you have to scrimmage 60 plays, but get in there, get some reps, and get a look, right? I'm going to be paying attention to that, certainly, whenever we start hearing back some reports from people in-house. Number 2, much like last week, kind of leading into the scrimmage, take it, Boo. Go take that starting job, Boo Carter. You are a true freshman playing one of the more dynamic positions in all of football, that nickelback spot, that star spot. You're young. You're still learning. Sometimes you get down on yourself, but physically the most talented and gifted player that Tennessee has the option there. It's your job if you want it. Creating separation, making plays, making a statement in a scrimmage like this. What an opportunity. Boo Carter, whether he starts or not at the star position this year, he's going to play a ton of defense if healthy. So why not go ahead and make that push to start at the position? What an opportunity for Boo Carter in this scrimmage. Deshaun Bishop, run, Deshaun, run. Just keep doing what you're doing, man. Deshaun Bishop, the local product out of Carnes High School, really, really good story. Spoke to the media yesterday and did a really good job. You can tell that he has matured an awful, awful lot. And with Dylan Sampson, who will likely not go in this scrimmage, with Cam Selden, who's still banged up, not taking on contact, Deshaun Bishop's kind of been the workhorse in fall camp, and he's done a really, really good job. So if he has another solid scrimmage, man, that puts him in contention to not only be on pace to get a whole lot of work against UTC, but when guys come back and are healthy like Cam Selden, maybe you still have a little bit of a role there in that offense. I know everybody's going to be rooting for him. Plus, Peyton Lewis, the true freshman, I'll be intrigued to see if he scrimmages. He was in a red non-contact jersey the last 2 days, or I guess it was yesterday at practice. I'll be intrigued to see kind of what his availability is for the scrimmage. Next on my wish list, I hope the offense wins the scrimmage. As I said, going into the last scrimmage, defense typically ahead of the offense at this point in time, and you couple that with all the guys on the offensive end that didn't even scrimmage last week, there was no shocker whatsoever, no surprise that the defense won the scrimmage. I like for the offense to win the scrimmage here. Iron sharpens iron. Good football players make good football players even better. And I think it's time that you would love to kind of head into regular season saying, okay, well, the defense had a scrimmage, the offense had a scrimmage, they're making each other better. Okay, let's go and take it to the next opponent, right, for 60 minutes and don't look back. General Nealon's maxims that we talked about last week. So I'd like to see the offense win this scrimmage. I'll be intrigued to see what happens. And then finally, I want to see some separation at safety. I mean, these guys do 11-on-11 work. These guys have teamwork in practice. It's not like they're not getting any scrimmage-like work. They're getting some good on goods, some full pad against full pad, showcasing opportunities in practice. But these scrimmages are like game-like settings for the most part. It's situational, but you're on the game field. Coaches are not in the huddle with you. It's a platform. It's an opportunity to go out there and shine. And, Andre Turntine's going to start on one of the safety spots, but is it going to be Will Brooks? Is it going to be Jacoby Thomas? Is it going to be John Slaughter? We'll have to see. I think this is the year to where, man, if they're going to rotate safeties, they're going to do it this year because if the season started today, Will Brooks would get the start, but neither one of those three have taken that job and run with it. They're all kind of just there together. So if there's ever a time to play multiple safeties, it's this year, at least until one of those guys creates some separation and takes that job. Could that be today in scrimmage number 2? We will see. So, more than anything, no injuries, no critical injuries. Football's a contact sport. I get it, but you want to avoid the big ones in scrimmages like this. Run, Deshaun, run. Take it, Boo Carter. Offense, I hope you win the scrimmage. So I hope we see some separation at safety, and more than anything as well, outside of the no injuries, I want to see some guys get into the fold. I'd like to see Lance Hurd get a couple series. John Campbell get a couple series. Andre Carrick needs this scrimmage. Thornton, Matthews go out there and make some plays on the outside. Aaron Carter on defense. Those are going to be some of the things I'm going to be looking forward to hearing back from after the scrimmage. Of course, it's close to the media. We don't get to see we don't get to see the team take part in scrimmages, but there are people on the inside that we talk to, and of course, we will speak with Josh Heupel shortly thereafter. Hey, when we come back, what did Philip Fulmer have to say about Nico Iamaleava and Tennessee football entering this year? Some quotes that you're going to like from the former head football coach, the Hall of Famer. That's coming up next as we continue on here with the Thursday edition of Locked On Vols. Want to see about Gametime. Gametime's a proud sponsor of the show. I appreciate them, and I really appreciate them when I use the app to buy tickets to the next event in my area. I've been mentioning how you can buy tickets to Tennessee football, Tennessee basketball, Lady Vols, baseball, Lindsey Nelson Stadium. The renovations continue, and we'll talk about that in segment number 3. Neyland Stadium, Thompson Bowling Arena at the Food City Center. You've got the Bijou Theater. You've got Tennessee Theater for comedy, for plays, for concerts, as well as the Tennessee Smokies down there at Smokies Park and Kodak. You can buy tickets to the next event in your area by using the Gametime app. And if you download the app, create an account, you put in the promo code LockedOnCollege, you're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Again, that promo code's LockedOnCollege for $20 off your first purchase. They got the all-in pricing, zone deals, flash deals. You can see your seats before you purchase it. No hidden fees. Plus, the procrastinator like you and me, if you wait, getting closer and closer to the time of the event, sometimes those tickets are cheaper on the Gametime app. So again, download the app, create an account, put in the promo code LockedOnCollege. You're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. So on, I guess it was Tuesday's Josh and Swain on 99.1 The Sports Animal, Philip Fulmer, former Tennessee head coach, former Tennessee Athletics Director, a Tennessee legend, former Tennessee football player himself. We know who Coach Fulmer is. He joined Josh and Swain. I believe they were at his charity golf tournament, and that's why he joined. But nonetheless, or something like that. No, that's in the spring. Anyway, he was joining the show, and he had a lot of good things to say about Josh Heupel and about this offense and about Nico. He's been to practices. He's watched. He knows a thing or two about football for sure. And so they asked him about Nico specifically, and that's where we'll start. Listen to this about what Philip Fulmer has to say about Nico Iamaleava. Some really, really good stuff. And then how he's going to handle all the expectations and all the hype surrounding him. Here's Philip Fulmer on Nico Iamaleava.
This young guy now, Nico, is for real.
He is, Coach.
He's for real. I've been around a lot of good ones, but this guy is really, really special. We got to keep him healthy, and keep the younger ones coming too. But if he stays healthy, it could be a very exciting offensive football team, which leads to a really exciting football team. Well, he has to earn it. He has to prove to the team that he's the guy. And you could argue that middle of last year, he might have been more ready, than some. But they did a great job of keeping him coming, gave him a chance to play really a lot start the bowl game. He did a super job of doing what they had to do to win the game, and. He's got such countenance to him about him. He looks you in the eye, shakes your hand. he knows who he's aware, and he gets in the huddle or into line of scrimmage, and he's in tune. Gets everybody aligned and everything. So we just hopefully we'll play like we practiced.
Yep.
And we'll stay healthy.
Listen to that first part of the quote, the first couple of sentences here from Coach Fulmer on Nico.
This young guy now, Nico, is for real.
He is, Coach.
He's for real. I've been around a lot of good ones, but this guy is really, really special.
He is for real. I've been around a lot of good ones. He is special. Man, that's great to see. That's great to hear, because when Philip Fulmer talks about football, I'm going to listen, because the dude's won a natty. The dude has coached a lot of good football players. He is a Hall of Famer. Again, we know who he is. We know his resume. He was my coach growing up, right? I mean, growing up in East Tennessee, rooting on the Vols. He was a guy on the sidelines, right? Run, pass. I mean, run, pass, play good defense. When he says that about Nico, and we continue to hear praise after praise after praise of Nico, and I get it. We got to go out there and see it. He's got to go out there and produce. But that was eye-opening for me, because that's somebody's football opinion that I very, very much respect, and I'm sure you do as well. Helmet communications. How can this help Tennessee, and how much would it have helped some of Coach Fulmer's teams, including some of the teams that Jason Swain was on? You'll hear Jason Swain talk a little bit in this one as well.
Jason, it would have helped us a lot, because we've done a whole lot of communication, signaling and stuff, but also at the line of scrimmage, and everybody being on the same page, and that's going to help. We were just talking about it. It's probably going to help with some game management kind of situations, or reminders, for the quarterback while everybody else is scrambling to get ready in the no huddle. They may get a reminder that, hey, this corner's limping, or don't take a sack, or kick the field goal, whatever, or you got 2 downs. Yep. That was always one of the hard ones, to make sure the coordinator and head coach got on the same place, and that the quarterback was on the same page.
I think this is one of the more dynamic and interesting things that's going to be happening in college football this year. How do players go about this? How do coaches go about this? The dynamic between player and coach, linebacker and defensive coordinator, quarterback and OC. I think it's going to be really, really intriguing to watch it unfold. Tennessee will still have the Wiggles out there. Their analysts, their assistants, staffers that will be signaling and stuff. Obviously, in the day and age of sign stealing in Michigan and all that, you can never be too careful, right? But also, Tennessee's going to be running tempo, and I don't think this is necessarily going to help with the tempo. But like Coach Fulmer just said right there, it's just constant reminders, like, hey, don't forget, when this safety, look the safety backside, throw the post behind him, or just little stuff like that, or you can't take a sack here, you can't take a sack here. Exactly what he said. I think that's going to be really important, and also with the defensive communication against Tennessee's tempo. I don't think there's going to be an advantage at all, because Tennessee's going so incredibly fast. You have a DC talking to your linebacker or whatever on the defensive side of the football that's trying to get back in there and get ready and catch your breath. And I would imagine defenses, when they play Tennessee, they've got to signal in from the sideline, because Tennessee goes so fast. If somebody says something, it's not like the linebacker's going to have a whole lot of time to turn around and tell his free safety or his edge rush or anything. I don't think the in-helmet communication is really going to work against Tennessee on the offensive side of the football for those defenses, in my opinion. But yeah, I'm intrigued to track all of this throughout the season, because it's another one of those changes to the game that we love. I feel like the year of 2024, this season's the season of change, because there's so many different changes. But in-helmet communication, that dynamic is certainly one of those. The last clip I'm going to play here from Philip Fulmer when he joined Josh and Swain in 99.1 The Sports Animal is talking about his first statement, talks about what good teams are good at, that being line of scrimmage. And then he kind of goes into, they were asking him about the 2001 defensive line. Of course, they had 2 first-rounders, Albert Haynesworth, John Henderson, and a bunch of other good guys. And, Fulmer talks about what good teams are made up in the trenches, and then he gets into that 2001 defensive line, and later on about how, man, that might have been their best team. Give this a listen.
I think makes a team tougher is when your defensive front and your offensive front are good, and they get to go against each other. They'll find a lot about each other. But Albert was actually even second team. I think Darwin was first team, and Henderson, and Albert, was probably the better of the 3, yeah. Actually, as it turned out to be. And we had great pressure off the edge. You could argue that and I have, at times, that 01 team might have been our best team. Not the one that won them all. I mean, so that group and that era. But, we don't lose that game, in the championship game. We may play for another national championship.
Yeah, some good stuff there talking about the line of scrimmage, how good teams are built at the line of scrimmage. Again, iron sharpens iron. They're going up against each other every single day in practice. That was kind of towards the beginning of his quote there. But that's why I think these young offensive linemen are going to turn into be pretty good, because they're going up against these grown defensive linemen, getting their nose bloodied every single day in practice. It's only going to make them better. Going up against James Pearce is going to make Lance Hurd better. And of course, what he said about the 01 team, which really comes as no surprise. So many times in sports, the best teams don't win at all. 2022 Tennessee baseball, right? Best team in the country by a country mile, didn't win the World Series, didn't even make it to the World Series. It's okay, because 2 years later, went to the World Series in 2023 and then won the whole daggum thing in 2024. But nonetheless, some great stuff there from Coach Fulmer. Really enjoyed listening to that whole conversation. You can check it out with Josh and Swain, 99.1 The Sports Animal. Whole conversation, a lot of other good stuff, but enjoyed those three things that he spoke on. In-helmet communication, defensive line, 2001 team, and, of course, what he thinks about quarterback Nico Iamaleava. Really, really special player. He is for real. Some good stuff there from Coach Fulmer. Hey, when we come back, some important updates regarding the renovation of Lindsey Nelson Stadium. That is coming up next as we continue on here with a Thursday edition of Locked On Vols. As always, appreciate you guys for tuning in, making Locked On Vols your first listen here today. When we're done, make Locked On SEC, make Locked On College Football your second and third listen here today, wherever you get your podcasts. All right, so here's the deal. It was an email that was sent out from Tennessee to season ticket holders and to media personnel, such as myself. It happened on Wednesday afternoon. We'll call it about 3 o'clock Eastern Time. And some important updates to the timeline for the renovation status of Lindsey Nelson Stadium. And what should come as a shock to absolutely nobody, especially if you've been kind of dialed in, you're members over at volquest.com. We've talked about it, on the message board. We talked about it in the war room. We talked about it in Monday night chats and all that. But there's been some utility issues, big time, around Lindsey Nelson Stadium on some of those side roads and everything. And it's really halted the progress of the stadium, and what was supposed to be a 3-year project crammed into 2 off seasons with it being completed prior to the 2025 season has now turned into a 3-year project overall, and construction will be ongoing into 2026. So the completion of the Lindsey Nelson Stadium renovation officially now, it's going to be prior to the 2026 season when everything should be all said and done. Now, that does not mean that things aren't still happening over there at Lindsey Nelson Stadium, because that is for sure. Despite some of the hiccups, despite some of the issues that I'll get into here in a moment regarding those utilities, fans can still expect to see these new features and these new things at Lindsey Nelson Stadium for the 2025 season. 4-seat tabletop units, 4 tops, along the right field line. Additional chairback seats. You got permanent net system, the left field bar on the main concourse behind the current 4-top section, right field student section, first baseline restrooms and concessions, renovated restrooms on the main concourse behind home plate, enhanced seating behind home plate, brand new cushioned VIP style seats. These seats are going to increase the price with the access to the MVP room and those amenity in 2026. So those are some of the new things that will be different if you were at the park this past spring. What I just read out to you is going to be some of the new stuff you have to look forward to this spring at the ballpark. Before it's all said and done in 2026, you'll have this to look forward to as well. Home plate entrance and a plaza area, 3rd level suites and club space, sound system, a kitchen. Neyland Stadium's getting a kitchen as well. Team merchandise shop and ticket office, player entry corridor, third base line, restrooms and concessions, fully completed new level, renovated concessions on the main concourse behind home plate, MVP room expansion, multiple elevators, and permanent LED lighting. So that's stuff that's coming not this offseason, but now next offseason to go into what's already been done and what's to come. Things that already happened that you if you were at the ballpark, you noticed this past season that was a part of the first renovation process last offseason, was 900 plus new permanent seats along the left field line that replaced 546 temporary seats in that location, 120 plus new permanent premium field level seats along the first base line, and 130 new permanent premium field level seats down the third base line. These seats are as close to the action as the fan can get. It's a larger, more comfortable seating option. Down the left field line, 35 plus new four-top tables that were added in a tiered seating section. That looked really good down there in the corner left field line where the porches are down there in that corner. Underneath was the visiting bullpen. But those tiered four-top tables looked really, really good. And, of course, utility work that was happening on Pat Summit Drive. That reminds me, Pat Summit Drive is going to be closed again this upcoming season because that's where they're going to be continuing to do kind of a layout for all this construction. But under Pat Summit Drive, that's where a lot of the utility issues are happening right now. So many people are saying, well, how in the world could they not know before they dig, right? There's that commercial. Well, there are blueprints or whatever you want to call them that kind of gave the okay, like, all right, dig, go ahead and tear this up or whatever. And once they dug, they said, oh no, oh crap, what is this? Oh, that's piping. Why isn't this on the blueprints? Well, it's because it's decades and decades and decades old, and these renderings and these blueprints weren't updated. Danny White spoke about that a little bit and went to sit down with Brent Hubbs and the at VolQuest.com a couple of weeks ago, and he's spoken on that a couple of different occasions. But they ran into a lot of issues there with those utilities on that drive, and that's they got to get all that resolved before they can start erecting some of the steel and the new entryway for fan at the main gate and all that. They got to get all that done before they can start on another phase of the renovation. So that's kind of been the big holdup here. Again, it's the temporary broadcasting center and media center is going to be, I still don't really exactly know what that's going to be. It's going to be something temporary. It's not going to be finished where they're going to place this next baseball season. But overall, it's unfortunate, but progress takes time. Progress takes patience, and issues happen. Unforeseen circumstances arise, and that's kind of where you are with the Lindsey Nelson Stadium project. So renovation, it was always, in my opinion, going to be a long shot that they got all this done in 2 off seasons. It was a 3-year project crammed into 2 years, and now it's gone back out to 3 years. The completed product is going to be prior to the 2026 season, but more and more things will be happening ahead of next season, the 2025 season, but it's still going to be a little bit under construction. But hey, the stadium was very much under construction this past year, and Tennessee hosted a regional. Tennessee hosted a super regional, and Tennessee went on and won the College World Series. So who cares? Your team won a national championship. Tony, I promise you, eventually his contract extension is going to be announced, and he's going to be taken care of. There's nothing to worry about there. You won a natty, and you're getting a brand spanking beautiful new stadium. Things for Tennessee baseball are going well. I can promise you that, but I did want to pass along those updates for a lot of you season ticket holders, a lot of you fans that go to Tennessee baseball games. Won't be done completely this upcoming season, but still there are things that you can look forward to. All right, that is going to do it here for this edition of Locked On Vols. Can't thank you enough for being here, making Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch each and every single day. Encourage you to make Locked On SEC, Locked On College Football your second and third listen here today. If you haven't subscribed to us, if you're listening to us or watching us on YouTube and you're new to the show, please come back. If you like what you see, I encourage you to subscribe, download these episodes wherever you get your podcasts, but subscribe on Locked On Vols on the YouTube channel. It's how we continue to grow this channel and get in front of more and more Tennessee fans. Kickoff is in 2.5 weeks, guys. I am super excited. We'll tell you everything we hear from Josh Heupel and hashtag sources about Tennessee's second scrimmage taking place Thursday morning. We'll recap that and everything more on a Friday show. This is Locked On Vols.